Hi guys, in this video today I'm going to show you how I repaired my Avro Vulcan, made some new decals for it and then took her a test flight to see how she flew after the repair. Well, here's my Avro Vulcan. As you can see, she's not in the best of health. I've had this model for quite a few years and it's been a real good flyer, but due to pilot error I've managed to break a nose. So the actual model comes from a company called Green Air Design, and it's a 36-inch wingspan, and as you can see there's two pusher props on the back, and it flies really well, and I hadn't flown it for some time. It uses these little 1300 3S's, and the battery goes right up into the front portion there, and I had a piece of foam at the back, and that was the correct balance, but for some reason I hadn't flown for some time, forgotten where it went, and I put it there, and she went up in the air, wasn't very happy, did a backflip and then a nosedive. So this is the result. It's all made of Depron. There's no spars or anything in it, it's just all ribbon construction. I've got a link on my website which got a load of build pictures so you can see how it actually goes together. So, and the receiver is in that little hatch there. So the only thing that comes out here is the actual power for the battery. One of the reasons I got the Vulcan was because you've probably heard about the Falklands raid, and it's the only time the Vulcan has ever dropped any bombs in anger. And this one here, it's losing some of the markings off the back. But I've done it up as XM607, which is the actual Vulcan that did the raid on the Falkland Islands, and at the time it was the longest mission that was ever accomplished by any Air Force. I think the Americans have surpassed that now with the B-52s going to Afghanistan from, I think it's somewhere in the States they fly from. But to actually do that raid, they had to use 13 Victor tankers, and the tankers were refueling the tankers to get the tankers to go most of the way with the Vulcan. And there's a good book on it by a guy called Roland White called, I think it's just called Vulcan 607, and it's a real good read. So what I've done initially is started off with a template from the nose cone, well, the cap of the cockpit really, not the nose cone, and then use some pink foam like this. This is just an odd scrap piece, and then trace the shape out on there, and that's left me with that. So you can see I've got quite a lot of filler and that on it still, and it's quite a bit more work to do. I've still got to cut out the section there for the battery, but I'm going to leave a section there, and when I get this on I'm going to actually make it so the battery goes in the right position, so there's no guesswork next time. It will take some gluing back on, and the intention is to use some probably cocktail sticks or some barbecue skewers and just drill some holes and then put them in the side there to get into to give it some more rigidity, is that a right word? Make it more solid. Here's a bit of video of her flying several years ago. It's filmed on an old camera, so you know, it's not the best, but give you an idea.
Launching.
I've managed to get the nose cone fairly well cut out now. I've used a Dremel to cut out the hole in there for the battery, and that's going to be going on there like that. Another piece of depth rod to go in first. What I've managed to do is make a new bulkhead there, the nose section to screw onto. There's a hole in there for the wires to come through, and there's another piece of depth rod to go on just to space it out a little bit more. That needs a bit more fitting, and then the nose cone will go on, and then with a bit of paint and a bit of fill in there, we should have it back in the air again. So there's the repair. So all I've done is cut a piece out to fit in there, cut some of the broken parts away, and then that's epoxied in about 20 minutes ago, so that won't be too far off. And all I use is this cheap epoxy for foam. I've given up buying the expensive stuff, and this stuff from our local pound shop in the UK does the job just as good. So I've used that on my recent builds, and hopefully we should be there soon. There's the hatch where all the gear is, so there's all the wires in there and the receiver. And the two little holes there, they're the actual launch holes that are right on the balance point. So when we get her ready, I'll be giving her a refreshing paint, because she's looking a little bit worse for wear at the moment. So as you can see, I've got the nose section on now, and it's glued on and it's not looking too bad now. Still some finishing to do, filling. If you can see inside there, if I can get you a good angle on it. Not the easiest thing to see. Try on this one. If you can see inside there. And basically all I've done, I've reinforced the bulkhead at the back there, and then glued the nose section on with epoxy, 5-minute epoxy. Then what I've done here and here, I've put some cocktail sticks in at a very sharp angle, smothered them in epoxy and pushed them in, and then just below the surface, and then there's a bit of hot glue around on the inside, so it does feel quite solid now. And I'm checking the balance. The battery right up the front there. The balance points on here are just there. I put these two holes in for launching, which was quite easy to do. And then, so if I hold her on the balance points, she's just very slightly nose heavy. Yeah, so it's just very slightly nose heavy there. Which I've got a little bit of adjustment inside there. So the nose is on and painted, and to actually paint it, I use these. In the UK we call them match pots, but they're sampler pots, and they come from our local DIY shops. And what I do is I go in Normally take some magazine with me with a picture of the paint and try and match the paint up as best I can. They can sometimes scan them, the colours, but I haven't found that work particularly well. So I just tend to go in and compare all the colour charts with what I'm after and get as near as I can. And these pots last quite a long time, and I think they only used to be about £1 in the UK, which is probably about $1.50. So that's what I use to paint. You end up with a matte finish. What I do after that is go over the plane with an acrylic varnish. I use gloss, but it doesn't, because this is going on matte and with a small light coat, it doesn't come out as too shiny. So I've done that on quite a few planes as well. Did that on my Mosquito as well. When I first built a Focke-Wulf 190 quite a few years ago, when I bought the kit, I'd not long learnt how to fly, and I wanted a warbird, and I always wanted a Focke-Wulf 190. So I bought this kit, and when I bought it, I neglected to check to see if there was any decals in the kit, and for one reason or another I didn't actually start the kit for about 18 months after I bought it, and when I opened the kit up there was no decals in it, so I thought contact the manufacturer. The manufacturer had gone bust by then, so I thought, well, where can I get some decals from? And when I looked around at prices and everything, they're quite expensive to get them, and I didn't really know what sizes I wanted, so I don't really want to spend money on something I don't really know the sizes I want yet. So I looked around for alternatives, and the way I started doing it was using water slide decals. And these are some of the original decals that I did for my Focke-Wulf 190, and these are water slide, and basically all you do is it's like the old Airfix or Revell kits that you probably remember doing when you was a kid, and you just cut them out as close to the line as possible, and then soak them in water, and then what I do is I spray the whole model then in water, and it allows you to slide it and get it in place, and then squeeze out the water with a paper towel. So I use that method on the Focke-Wulf 190, and it didn't look too bad. I'll put a picture up of the model so you can have a look at it. The actual model was a nitro model, and I was a bit concerned about whether they would pull off with the fuel, so but actually it turned out okay. The model died long before the decals pulled off. So all you need to do afterwards, once the decals have gone on, leave them for a good couple of days to really dry, and then spray over with some acrylic clear varnish, and that was absolutely fine. So you can see from the picture it didn't come out too bad. So I did that on the Vulcan as well when I originally built the Vulcan, and as you can see now I've got the nose reattached and painted, and then we've got the hatch secured with some magnets, and that really does stick in, so hopefully that won't fly off. But on some of my later planes, rather than use the water slide, I started trying some self-adhesive decals, and these ones here, the ones I've used on the Lancaster. So the beauty of when you do these, you always tend to put in more than I need, and you've got plenty of spares. And the Lancasters, just keep Lancaster's still up there at the moment. So they're still on. They're still on, and I do the same with them as well. Go with some clear acrylic varnish. So I've now printed these decals out for the Vulcan, and I'm quite pleased with the way these have come out. The main thing you need when you're doing any decals is to get the right fonts. And I'll put a link into a website where I get my fonts from. Because what you don't want is all your numbers in some gothic text or something which won't look right. So find the correct fonts, load them into your computer, and then the way I create it now, I use a graphics package called Affinity Photo, which does very similar to Photoshop, and some people actually have switched from Photoshop to Affinity Photo. And I think one of the main reasons is because Photoshop now has gone to this subscription model. And I suppose if you're making your living out of photography and graphics work, then you can justify the monthly subscription cost. But me as a modeller that likes to spend most of his money on his models, and I mean, I don't mind spending money on software, but I don't really want to be spending a subscription every month, especially now that I've retired from work and my income now is not what it used to be. So I've done these with Affinity Photo, and the actual roundels, I measured the size on the Vulcan. Bang. So the ones that I've still got on here, I measured the sizes on them, and then with Affinity Photo I was able to create these very easily. It's got a tool for creating circles, so I basically just measured the circles, and the colours. The colours were really easy, which was quite surprising. That I actually searched for the colours, and on the actual Royal Air Force website they've got some guidelines on their liveries, and it gives all the hex codes for the colours. So I was able to put the hex codes in for the colours and get the exact match on the colours. The other thing you'll see I've done on here, I've put ARSIC, because one of the problems with, once you've printed the sheet out, you can't put it back in and use it again. So the main thing to do really is use it all up. So I've made sure I've printed quite a few spares, and then I thought, what else can I put in? So I thought I'll just put my logo in, and that can go on some of my planes. So hopefully we shouldn't be too far off. What I'm going to do first of all, before I put these stickers on, they'll be cut out, and then I'm going to give it a coat of varnish first, because these stickers are not particularly good on porous surfaces. So with it being Depron and XPS foam, which is a little bit porous, it will give it something to stick to, and then afterwards I'll give it another coat, and then we can go and remaiden her. Hopefully not break it this time. So here's a few pictures of her finished. It's not looking too bad with all the decals on, and now we'll go and remaiden her and see how she flies. Fingers crossed. So here we are guys, ready for the new maiden. She's all been repaired and not looking too bad. It's never going to win any scale prizes, but I just like the look of them in the air. So long as they look something like the original in the air, that's generally good enough for me. It's quite apt really, because at the Rotherham Club here we're not very far from Robin Hood Doncaster Airport, and it's over that way a bit, probably about 8 or 10 miles. And Doncaster Airport used to be RAF Finningley, where the Vulcans were based. So the last surviving flying Vulcan is actually based at Doncaster Airport now. They're setting up a proper museum for it, and they're doing tours. There are days where you can go there now and have a look round.
Cytos might be better. Ooh. That was a bit airy.
I think part of the reason why it went off like that is probably because it's not a brilliant throw, but the torque reaction, because the two motors in there are both clockwise motors, and when I bought it, it was a complete kit, which came with everything, and the motors are buried right inside the fuselage. So without actually cutting into the foam and rewiring the ESCs, I'm going to have difficulty in trying to do anything with them.
You can get a low pass.
Seems to be flying even better than before. I don't remember it being quite as fast as this, so perhaps the rebuild's helped it.
Get it trimmed a bit more. That's better. You can do a nice low pass.
Repairing models can be almost as enjoyable as building them, because you do tend to learn new skills, and when it comes out with a successful flight like this, you know, it gives you a little bit of sense of satisfaction. I've seen a few guys at our flying club actually throw models away that have been crashed, and although they look quite severe, you know, they're quite repairable, but you know, they don't either have the time or the inclination to repair the model.
She flies again. There, I try to roll it.
There.
Oh yeah. think we better have a landing because I'm not sure how long these batteries have got in them. They're quite old batteries now. So see if we can make a good landing without botching it up. Woo!
So there she is after her first, well, second maiden flight really, after the first maiden flight since I've repaired the nose. And as you can see, she survived. And the actual decals haven't come out too bad. Just zoom in a bit there. So they're not bad. They're not as, colours are not as vibrant as they could be because they're it's a clear covering underneath, which you can see under there. But you know, from a distance, it's okay. So I'm well pleased with that. So thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe. And the next video up is going to be the Hotwire CNC machine running on Linux CNC. I'm almost there with it, just doing some final testing, and that should be the next one that's up. Catch you later.